Shepard. It's a pleasure to see you again.
Today on review, we are looking at Mass Effect 3 for the Xbox 360, also available on the PS3 and PC. Mass Effect 3 is, of course, the pinnacle of this overall story that's been built into Mass Effect 1, 2, and all the little random games from the iPad, iPod, and so on. So, in this review, I will not be giving away any specific story giveaways, mainly like the ending or so no worry, you can watch the review without worrying about knowing what happened exactly in detail. So, of course, the story of Mass Effect 3 is take place 6 months after the event of the Rival, which was the DLC for Mass Effect 2, with of course your Shepard, male or female, being more or less on trial for what he or she ended up doing in that DLC, and pretty much right in the middle of it, the Reaper, of course, the invasion have started, and it's pretty much you escaping Canada to go out into Galactic Fate to try to figure out what's happening, recruit more people to an overall army to build a item that will end up either destroying the Reaper or some other things later on. So the gameplay itself is pretty much the same old routine of Mass Effect 2. The only difference here is some bringing back or adding more RPG-ness back to the Mass Effect series, which, as some of you might know, a lot of RPG staple kind of got cut out of Mass Effect 2, but have returned here in Mass Effect 3. Mainly the main ones would be the court. Now you have loot you can have again, which you will find armor and weapon within the game you can have, which you can put on your character to do different stats, and of course you can decorate it by changing different corridors and whatnot. Also, you can buy armor and weapons in vending machines along the Citadel and other places, and you had modifications you can add to your gun to give it better stability, scopes, silence, so on. So you have that mix-matching and modification of weapon and armor back, which was in Mass Effect 1. And of course, on top of the weapon, now you can of course upgrade your weapon, which each gun can be upgraded to level 5 and can add random different things to it. And on top of buying all the guns and armor, all the original armor and guns from the Part 2 Mass Effect have returned with all the DLC that you may or may not got to play at, depending on if you actually bought the stuff or bought Collector Edition at this location. So all previous weapon and armor DLC is in Mass Effect 3 for free, and you can upgrade yourself as you more or less see fit. And on the whole actual leveling side for your character, now it's fairly similar to the way it worked in Mass Effect 2, with you taking points and putting in random attribute depending on what character you're leveling or whatnot. The difference here is now every full level of your skill tree, you really will have a skill tree, which will give you 2 options for whatever skill you are leveling, which kind of add a little bit more in-depthness to building your character, and you can really build your character out in combat scenario that you want your character to be. Sadly, that's not really the case as far as the actual story is concerned here, because as previous iterations of Mass Effect, you will know your conversation trees is always deep, interesting, and complex. And if most of the time they kind of did go around in circles. But in Mass Effect 3, most of that is cut out. It usually you have 1 to 3 way to end a conversation, and you have at the most 3 questions you can add that doesn't really go into a skill tree. You more ask a question, they reply to it, and then you back to where you began, and not actually full conversation here. And of course you also continue having your Renegade and Paragon-ness in the conversation, which haven't changed at all, up and down. And you also have the quick time event that they introduced in Mass Effect 2. But in many cases with them, they seem to be forcing you down a one-way character, because in some scenarios you will be having to do a Renegade act, and if you do not do the Renegade act, you will die. But don't get me wrong, it is very easy to stay fairly Paragon in it, but don't expect to have like a 100% Paragon waiting in it, because they will force you to do some hard choices. And when it comes down to the choices, that will the actual will choice come from. You might not have choice in conversations anymore exactly, but in the overall event, you will be picking either do one thing or another, good or bad, which mainly play into your overall evil and good side. And you will get closure to the actual event of the side stories that have been happening throughout Mass Effect, such as the Genophage or the conflict between the Gats and the Quarians. And this here is where your choices actually matter for Mass Effect 1 and 2. Most of these will be characters you have let go or whatnot will show up in certain cutscenes within these side stories, and you will get closer to them, the event, and in many cases actually leave you scratching your head of what if. What if certain people in Mass Effect 2 didn't make it? How would it play out? Because they're such a pinnacle part of the story. We do not add replayability to Mass Effect 3, but it will make you want to go back at least to Mass Effect 2 to train some decision to see how it would play out in 3. But then you get to the end of the game, which you may or may not get closer depending on your attitude to this ending. And in many cases, you might be left more wondering, how do these scenes actually play out, and if they any will at all, which may end up going into the supposedly re-editing of the ending that BioWare are doing at the time of the recording. But all that is kind of up in the air at the moment of what that is. So overall, you will get closer to the side missions. You will see certain character you wreck. Your choices does matter, but more matter if from the choices of Mass Effect 1 and 2, not exactly your choices in 3. 3 is a lot more focused and straight to the point about a lot of stuff. But on the other side of that, we have now Connect adding into the game. Which, when a lot of people think Connect, they don't think anything important. But it actually works fairly damn well in this. You don't have to be loud or anything. You can pick up items, hack doors, do combat scenario with your AI people. You can do conversation tree by just reading what is on screen without having to push a button. It adds such a level to the game and work flawlessly. In many cases, the Connect might be a little iffy. In my case, the Connect doesn't really want to work for me properly for whatever reason. But in Mass Effect 3, I could be just barely talking out loud and it will recognize what I'm hearing. And this is the only real issue with the actual Connect function of the, if you playing this in a room with other people, and if they read one of the sentences out loud or say something similar, you might have them picking choices for you that you do not want to do. So I do not recommend playing it with a Connect on if you're in a room with others. This is a private thing you do with you and your Connect, and try not to be dirty in any way, shape, or form. So don't make Liara dance. I don't know if he will or not. But anyway, outside of the Connect and the actual story of the single player, you of course have multiplayer within this, which is pretty much Horde mode. Not a lot have been added here. The only thing that made it different than any other Horde mode is mainly the jobs and the classes and the leveling system. Because the leveling system for Mass Effect single player carry over completely in this. So you have the same in-depth leveling system, and you have the ability to play as every class from the original Mass Effect single player, and then you will be rewarded points right along with your level, which you can use to buy packs, which will be randomized item, might it be metagel or gun or character. Because not all characters are unlocked at outset. Mainly the human character for each class will be unlocked, but if you want to play as such like a Quarian or Krogan or Torian, you will have to play the multiplayer and try to get enough money to actually buy the items. And the items are completely randomized, but if you do not want to play the game over and over, you can of course spend real money on buying the packs. From anywhere from 80 points to like 160 to 40, whatever the high amount is. I can't remember off the top of my head here. But, so you have replayability here. The only problem is that you might end up burning yourself out by the time you actually get a character you're wanting, since how well they are. But the multiplayer side of this, inside the game, is like I said, pretty much straight up Horde mode. The only difference here is only 11 level, which the last level is evac, where you have to get to a zone and defend it for 2 minutes while you wait for evac to show up. But outside of the final level, every 3 levels you will have a mission. Might it be eliminate a target, hack a terminals, or upload information, which will keep you on your toe every 3 levels, and you have the ability to set the parameters of the game, such as the 5 levels that is in the game out of default, while on with what many types you want to fight, and of course how hard do you want to have it, which is made up of silver, bronze, and gold, with each one, if you're able to complete, will add more money and more ability to your character. And each character can level up to level 20. Once you get to level 20, you can either keep your character or you can import it into Mass Effect 3, which will overall add to your galactic readiness, which playing the multiplayer will also add to your galactic readiness, which end up playing a factor within the ending scenario of the actual single player game. So sadly, you actually gotta play the multiplayer if you want to get the best out of the single player. But on the other side of it, you can play it alone if you so desire, or up to 4 other teammates. So, overall, Mass Effect 3 might be a little bit of a letdown in many places, and bring closure to other, and then on the other side, a feature to leave you scratching your head. But it's still a fantastic game across the board, any with a lot of a shortcoming. So, overall, I give Mass Effect 3
I've been counting.
Anything in particular?
a 5 out of 5.
Damn it.